there are two different types of tests that are taken. One is your A1C test, and the other is your fasting glucose lab. So the fasting glucose test, what that does is it measures how much glucose is in your system after you've had fasted for 8 hours. So that's why, medical, professionals, doctors, right, they tell you to fast for about 8 hours when you go get labs done, because that's when they get the most accurate reading, for glucose levels. Now, I remember one time though, just to give you a little bit more info about fasting, the labs I took last year, my doctor had to remind me, 8 hours, but no more than 10 fasted. Cause I didn't plan this, right? I didn't do it on purpose. It just happened this way. I had fasted for about 12 hours. And when I mentioned that to my doctor, he was like, well, you want to be careful about fasting for too long, because what can happen is, your body will then turn to fats and convert that to glucose. So that can certainly affect your reading when you go to get a fasting glucose lab done. The other one is A1C. Now, what that test measures is the percentage of glucose that's attached to your hemoglobin. So now, as a reminder, from my trace minerals video where I talked about iron, right? Your red blood cells, that's what your hemoglobin is made up of. Red blood cells, their longevity is about 3 months. So when you take an A1C test to, determine how much glucose is attached to your hemoglobin, your A1C test is sort of a collective over a 3-month period, because that's how long your hemoglobin lasts before, your body regenerates new red blood cells. So that's why A1C is it's a collective, right? A1C though is definitely what's commonly used to determine where you are when it comes to diabetes. So a higher A1C, what that indicates is the higher the chances that glucose has been attached to your hemoglobin. Diabetes is the result of insufficient or ineffective insulin secretion. Now, this can lead you to hyperglycemia. Now, if you know, there's hyper and then hypoglycemia. Hypoglycemia is low blood sugar, low blood glucose. And hyperglycemia is essentially elevated blood glucose. Now, when you have hyperglycemia and your blood glucose is elevated, it can destroy your blood vessels and your nerves and tissues as well. It can damage them. What happens is when you eat a meal, insulin will send a signal to your body cells to go ahead and absorb the nutrients from that said meal that you ate at that time, right? And what it does is it'll absorb the amino acids, fatty acids, and the glucose, otherwise known as fats, carbs, and proteins, in case you didn't catch it.